Hello, Open Door parents. This is Diana Peyton coming to you again from the safety of my dining room. I hope that this finds you all well and doing as well as you can be. All of this is going on for so much longer than anybody anticipated. A lot of the experts, I guess, knew, but it's hard to wrap your brain around the fact that it's been 2 months and it's not over, and it's going to be a while. So today I wanted to talk about something that came up in our parent meeting last week, and that was how to engage your children in play, how not to get too bored while you're doing it, because they do like repetition and children like doing the same thing over and over again. And usually they've got some peers to spread out some of that, some of the playtime, but right now most of them do not. So I wanted to talk to you about play at first in general, and then to talk about pretend or dramatic play and why that's so important for children. So I want to start off talking about how we plan at the school, and how we decide what the children should be doing next or what they can be doing next. And in the field, we do what is called emergent curriculum. And what that means is that we pay attention to what the children are talking about, to what they are asking questions about, and develop our lessons around their interests. And this is known as emergent curriculum. It emerges from one week to the next. Now, we use books and resources, of course, to plan specific activities. Oops, wrong side of my notes. I was checking to see where I was, and I was on the wrong page. So, for example, your child is extremely interested in whales. And you get kind of tired of that, yep, it's a whale, yeah, it swims in the ocean. What you can do is expand that for them. So, for instance, you can have a biology lesson. Whales are mammals, they're not fish. What makes a mammal? Why is it called a mammal? Who else is a mammal? People are mammals. So you can spend a lot of time talking about that. Show your child, I'm looking this up, let's look it up. Okay, either on the internet. Most people don't have reference books anymore, but if you have any, bring those out too and let them know that there are some books that have this information. So they can, study about biology. What do whales eat? What do they eat to give them energy? What do the whales eat to give them energy? How do they breathe if they live underwater? If they're a mammal, how do they breathe? How do they stay under there so long? When they themselves can put their face under and have to pull it back up to breathe. You can do math with your children around something like this. How much does the whale weigh? How much do you weigh? Do a size and weight comparison with your child, because they don't know how big a whale really is unless they've seen one. I have a fun story to tell you about a student of mine a long time ago who moved to the country and had, I don't remember if he was 3 or 4, but 3 or 4 year old. And he knew all his animals by looking in the books, right? He could point, yeah, there's a cow, there's a, whatever. Even some children knowing all the dinosaur names will make the error that I'm going to talk about here. So they moved out to the country, and the first morning he woke up and looked out of his window, he was just amazed by what he saw and ran downstairs and told his mother, "Mama, there's an elephant in the yard." And she said, "An elephant? What do you mean?" Yeah, it's right there, it's right there. Well, it was a cow. But that cow is the biggest animal that child had ever seen in person. And they know that elephants are really, really big. And so, although he could pick out a cow in a book and tell you, he did not see that as a cow. He saw it as an elephant because it was so big. So children, yeah, they're smart and they know a lot, but they can be confused by their lack of experience. So, showing them size comparison, even if it's cutouts, you're not going to be able to assemble a whale, a dolphin, a fish, that, your child. But, illustrate to them, this is a whale, and this is how much a whale weighs. How much do you weigh? So the whale has to eat so much more every day than you do because the whale is so much bigger, and there's math that you can do with your child around that. Um, how long does it take to swim? It takes you how many arm strokes to get across the pool. And if they're not swimming, you can talk about yourself. A whale wouldn't even fit in the pool. Okay, so give them some comparisons so that they can start to understand these differences. Okay? You can also bring in geography. Where do whales live? Why do they live there? Do they like hot water or cold water? Where is the water the coldest? Where is it the warmest? So you can bring geography into it. You can bring reading and writing into it. The children can draw what you've been talking about. They can draw whales and then dictate to you what they've drawn. So the way we do it in school is, the children have their journals. We call them journals. And they draw in them, and then they dictate to the teacher what they drew. Now, that's not with every single thing, but if it's significant to them, the teacher sees significance in it, they will ask the child to tell them, so what's about this? Let's write it down. And so they can start to see and put the words to their thoughts. You may want to start, and this would be for our whale theme here, but also you may want to start writing some word cards. Index cards are good. If you don't have index cards, cut up some pieces of paper. The heavier the paper, the better, because you want them to be able to use these over and over. And write common words on those. So their name, your names, the names of their favorite toys, the names of their friends, and they can start to do some of that writing themselves by looking at the cards. Now, that's not until they're at least 4, right? But they've been seeing writing all along on things like index cards. At school, we have the shelves labeled with where the toys go. They're seeing each other's names all the time. They can pick out each other's names before they can actually, well, it is reading, right? But one of the first things they know is each other's names because it's all over the classroom. So, maybe getting some word cards. Let your child help you do that. So what words would you like me to write down for you so that you can write them yourself? And let them participate in that. So that they're playing with your child. Yes, it involves playing specific games, but you can also expand on their knowledge through playing with that. And I think it'll be more stimulating and rewarding for you to do it that way. Let's see, what else is there? Children, well, all of us, learn much better, remember a lot more if we get information because we ask the question. We remember much more. So, and those children are no different. If they ask you a question and you give them information, like, what does a whale eat? And you look that up and you talk about it, they remember that. They remember the experience. They remember how it felt to be excited and learning about it. And so they remember that information much more than if you just said, well, whales eat plankton, and this is what plankton are. They're going to look at you like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not interested in that. I'm not curious about that. And it just leaves their mind. So you have to relate based on their interest and answer those questions. If you don't know the answer, that's fine. That's part of what makes this more exciting for you. I don't know. Let's look it up. Okay. So that's, a way to play with your children that makes it more stimulating for you, makes it more stimulating for them, and they're learning more. If you take this time to be with your child, because I know a lot of you think, yeah, like I have time to do that. But if you spend a half an hour to an hour playing like this, your child will be more satisfied. And they will then go off and carry out some of these themes, some of these ideas on their own in their play. You can redirect them, I have to do my work now. I can't play with you anymore. But remember everything we talked about. Why don't you draw that for me? And then later on, you guys can do a dictation. So, yeah, give it a try. And this can be about any topic. I used whales, but certainly anything they're interested in, you can develop. Um, well, it's a lesson for them based on their interests. Um, you can also, oh shoot, that thought just flew out of my mind. It'll come back. um, I want to talk specifically at this point about pretend play or dramatic play. Children are born completely egocentric, and what that means is that they do not have the ability to take somebody else's perspective. It's not that they're stubborn or they're self-centered. Those might be labels we'll put on an adult who just refuses to take someone's point of view. But children are not capable of doing that. And their experiences over time teach them that people have different points of view, people think differently. When they get into arguments with each other at school, the argument is not a bad thing. The argument is a learning opportunity. Wait a minute, you wanted the truck and so did he. He wants it too, just like you do. So we have to figure out a way to solve this problem because you both want the truck. So we're constantly pointing out to them other people's points of view. But dramatic play is a way that they can try out different points of view without it being at all a conflict resolution or something that you're preaching to them. How do you think that makes him feel? They don't know how it makes the other child feel. They really don't. They learn that through experience and through dramatic play. It's one of the most important experiences that children engage in with each other. Tests of intelligence. Children who engage in dramatic play perform better on tests of intelligence than children who do not have peers to engage in dramatic play with. So we know that it's a really important form of play. Children are learning about the world through it. So dramatic play, why dramatic play? Well, it starts off as imitation, right? Babies imitate us. In the infant rooms at our schools, the babies will pretend to pat down other babies to sleep. So when they're 18 to 24 months, they're doing that with each other. At first, it's with a baby doll. They get a baby doll and they're pretending to pat it, or they're holding it here and rocking with it. They're imitating what the adults do for them. And that's an amazing experience for a child. They are practicing empathy. They're practicing understanding how other people are feeling. Okay. Oh, you're a baby and you're crying and you must need me to rock you. That's a very simplistic kind of point of view, but that's where it starts. So, we see it in imitation. It's not long before they're starting to pretend that objects are other than what they are. Like they'll pretend a stick is a wand, a magic wand. That starts as early as 2 or 3. They're driven to do it. No one has to teach children how to engage in dramatic play. They just do it naturally. Parents can stifle it by saying, well, that's not real, and giving them a lesson on what's real. Children are pretending, and they don't have logic yet. They can't see the world logically. They have to see it in a way that their brain can process it. So pretending to be mama, pretending to be the daddy, pretending to be the doctor, pretending to be the sister or the brother or the baby. When they're playing together at school, often if you won't agree even to be the baby, and this is usually newcomers to the play, you can be the baby, and no one wants to be the baby. So they pretend to be the cat or the dog, and they crawl around on all fours. They'll do that for a couple of hours sometimes, pretending to eat from a bowl on the floor and all of that. They're taking that perspective. What's it like to be the one who has no words. Okay, I have to get these people to feed me, but I can't talk to them because I'm a dog. Excuse me, because I'm a dog, right? So taking that perspective, excuse me.